so I beat Fire Emblem Engage with 0% growths. But I used the overpowered Dual Assist Brave Assist combo, and I experienced a hollow victory. Nothing was risked, and nothing was gained, so I wanted to try again and not use that combo. In fact, I don't need to use skill inheritance at all. Anyway, because I've done something similar to this before, I'm going to try and explain the start of the run quickly. Alright, be sure to like and subscribe, and let's go. The prologue is literally the same as a regular playthrough. I just hit the boss 3 times to beat the chapter. Chapter 1 is again pretty much the exact same as a regular playthrough. I kill these guys, I get Marth, I kill those guys, and I beat the chapter. Chapter 2 time, I clear out the first few enemies. Next, I beat Lumera. Then I beat Lumera again, and I end the map. Alright, now it's time for Chapter 3. On this map we gain a few new units. As you might be able to tell, the constant stream of adequate units makes the early game pretty easy. Anyway, we beat the boss, kill an archer, and end the map. On Chapter 4, I teleport over the water with Saline. Then I kill a guy, I kill another guy, and eventually I kill the boss and beat the map. It's that simple. Now we're on Chapter 5. I kill the first group of enemies and then I kill the thief. I now push towards the boss and use a huge override to kill 2 cabs in one turn, and then I begin to fight the boss. The boss is pretty strong, but is he so strong if I place Louis on this heal tile? The answer is no. With a few hits on enemy phase, Alir eventually kills the boss. Okay, Paralog 1. I kill some of the corrupted, I get the village, I fight the boss, I kill the boss, I beat the chapter. Easy. On Chapter 6, I kill this axe fighter to get the ring, then I proceed to push up, and I eventually reach the boss. I hit the boss a few times, and then I get the kill with Saline. With that map complete, we unlock the well. I'm not going to use this, as you can use it to gain stat boosters, and I think that would undermine the challenge a little. However, I am going to use the 2 weapons you get for free, as they're quite good. Okay, Anna Paralog time. I move up and keep a fast pace as I reach Anna quickly and recruit her. Then I kill more enemies and progress towards the boss. But the boss is quite strong, and I have to run away from them. But with some enemy phase counterattacks, I weaken them, and eventually I kill them to beat the map. On Chapter 7, I kill some of the initial enemies and begin to move up. I shoot down some of the flyers, and now move up again. I now bait out Hortensia, and on the next turn, I manage to dispatch with both Rosado and Hortensia to end the map. Now it's time for Chapter 8. I send some units left and some other units right, and take down some of the initial enemies. I now wait patiently for Kagetsu and Zelkov to move, and when they move, I easily take both of them down. With both Kagetsu and Zelkov down, Ivy begins to move, and I begin to distract her. Eventually, she moves in range for my units to attack her, and then I kill her to beat the chapter. On Chapter 9, I move towards Jade, and I kill Kagetsu fairly quickly. Because Jade decided to move south, I have to wall off Zelkov. I eventually take out Zelkov, and I begin to move towards Ivy. I now kill Ivy and end the chapter. On Chapter 10, I bait out Rosado and then kill him. I do the same for Goldmary and then move towards Hortensia. I now kill the enemies around Hortensia and then begin to fight her. Fortunately, she is quite easy and I eventually get the kill with Louis. Next, I open the door and fight Morian. I manage to take him out in one turn, and then I bait out Hyacinth's Astrostorm. I start fighting Hyacinth by poisoning him, and then I chip him down with a variety of my units, and I get the kill with a lucky crit from Amber. I now begin Chapter 11. This map is actually quite hard, as only like 2 of my units can deal any meaningful damage. I begin the map by moving down, and I manage to kill some of the ring users. Ivy and her retainers show up, and they help with clearing up the remaining enemies, allowing for Lear to escape the map easily. Okay, Chapter 12, I kill some guys, I kill some more guys, I kill the final enemy. It's a pretty simple map. It's time for Chapter 13. I kill some enemies and I move towards Tamara's group. I visit the village for the Seraph Robe and I begin to move down. I move quickly and manage to save the second village. I now move right and begin to engage the bosses. I manage to beat them both without any issues and beat the map. On Chapter 14, I reclass a few of my units to Warrior for its high strength and access to bows. I begin the map by sending some units left and some other units right. I swiftly dispatch of the thieves and then begin to move all the way around the map. I use Astrostorm on the hounds who individually bait out each one to make them much easier to deal with. With this strategy, I easily kill the hounds. With Kagetsu, I hit Hortensia a few times and I eventually get the kill and end the map. On Chapter 15, I kill the enemies and then recruit Cedar. Next, I open the door and kill the units in the room. I continue to do this until I reach the boss, who I easily beat, and then I swiftly escape from the map. On Lucina's Paralog, I kill the initial enemies, and then bait out Lucina. I now easily kill Lucina to end the simple Paralog. On Chapter 16, I go towards the center of the map, and I manage to kill the barbarian going for the village. I now maintain my position at the center of the map and then kill every enemy that moves towards me. With that done, I just have to move towards the bosses, and I kill Marnie with Fogado, and I kill Movia with Kagetsu to end the map. Now that the easy maps are mostly done, I'm going to explain the rest of the maps from this point onward with more detail. Okay, now it's time for the Ike paralogue. I use Astrostorm to cause Ike to move. Now I block the choke points and wait for him to approach. I now place Ivy in range of Ike at 1 range, so he'll equip his hammer and attack her. Next I begin my assault on Ike with Merrin, as she has the Lucina ring, and she can stack poison on him with chain attacks. With Pandreo, I debuff Ike, and with the help of Corin's Draconic Hex, I beat his first HP bar with Rosado. His second HP bar is easily beat with Ivy and Goldberry. I then end the map with 2 attacks, one from Rosado and one from Goldberry. The Limb paralogue is extremely easy. I just wait for Lynn to move in my range and I kill her. It's extremely simple. On chapter 17, I take out the first group of enemies near the start of the map, and while doing this, I position Hortensia to bait out Gris. She survives with 1 HP, and on the next turn, I take out Gris. His first HP bar is dealt with by Pandreo, and his second HP bar is beat with Kagetsu. Goldberry now solos the group of enemies coming from the bottom of the map, while the rest of my army finishes off the enemies to the north. With that done, I begin to move my squad to engage Marnie. With my magic users, I chip down Marnie, and eventually I take out her first HP bar with Rosado. Her second HP bar was equally easy. I chip her down with Hortensia and Zelkov, then I get the kill with Rosado. Movia didn't put up much of a fight, and I kill him with Goldberry. I now push up and use the Flame Dragon Vein to split up some calves, and then I annihilate them on player phase. While doing this, I perfectly position to bait out Zephyr, as she has very exploitable AI, and she won't kill any of my weaker units unless they're grouped together. On the next player phase, Kagetsu annihilates Zephyr's first HP bar, and then Panette beats her next HP bar with a crit. I now retreat a little to regain Alir's Emblem gauge. I now annihilate Hyacinth's first HP bar with Panette. With the help of some chain attacks, Hortensia finishes off Hyacinth's final HP bar. To beat Vale, I smack her with Kagetsu, then I dance Kagetsu and attack with the longbow. This chip damage was enough that I can disrespectfully send my weakest unit, Alir, to get the kill. On chapter 18, I use Panette to take out the upper wyverns, and use the Corin Emblem on Pandreo to initiate a push towards the left side. I now continue my advance and take out the enemies on the left side. Suddenly some reinforcements show up, and Corin's engage runs out, so I actually have to kill them. Fortunately, my army is mostly comprised of units with bows, so the flyers are quite easy to take out. To the right, a few enemies move in, so I employ the use of Lucina's bonded shield to safely take out a few of them on enemy phase with Panette. With the turn complete, I just have to take out the enemies in my range and defeat the boss. I take out her first HP bar with Kagetsu on enemy phase, and then on the next turn, I take out her second HP bar with some chain attacks. On chapter 19, I use Rescue on Saphir to move her over the water, and then I recruit her. I now place Zelkov in this choke point, as with a Fogtar created by Corin's Emblem Ring and a Micaiah engraved dagger, he cannot be hit by any enemies, and he proceeds to hold off every enemy on the map. The enemies begin to pile up, and I use Kagetsu and Panette to take out the enemies from the safety of 2 range, as I want them both to reach level 14, so that on chapter 22 they can activate Riemer's Bond Ring for the extra crit. I continue to hold my position until Movia attacks me. I then use longbows to chip down his first HP bar, and I finish off the HP bar with Kagetsu. On the next turn, I manage to take out his next 2 HP bars, with the final blow being dealt by Ivy. I weaken Marnie with my mages, and then send Panette, Ivy, and Hortensia to collect the Draco Shield from the village. I now end the map with Kagetsu. With that chapter complete, we regain the extremely overpowered Micaiah ring, and we will now effortlessly beat every map that allows us to use her. I begin chapter 20 by critting Gris on turn 1. I then use Micaiah's ring to re-warp to the top of the map, and I hit Gris 2 more times to finish him off, and I beat the map in 1 turn. On chapter 21, there are a few bosses with somewhat valuable items, but I don't need them. So I just use Rewarp to move up to Vale, I debuff her with Corin, and then I attack her with Saphir. She lands a critical hit, dropping 1 of her HP bars. I now use Byleth to dance Seedal and Saphir, then I attack with Saphir, and thanks to Byleth's stat boosts, she doubles, and I easily take out Vale's next HP bar. To end the map, I dance Saphir once more, and kill Vale with a crit. On chapter 22, we are in serious trouble because we have lost the extremely overpowered emblem rings, and we have to fight the enemies on a somewhat even playing field. Fortunately, we gain Movia, and I give him most of my stat boosters. I also proceed to use tonics on most of my units, and reclass some of them to make this chapter more manageable. To begin the chapter, I send Movia to the left to take on the heroes. The rest of my squad head right to take on the cavalry. Next, I dispose of the initial group of enemies, and move towards the first set of rings. I intentionally delay Alear's arrival to the first set of rings to prevent the griffins from moving when I'm unprepared to deal with them. I now bait out the griffins with Saphir and proceed to kill them on the next turn. In the upper part of the map, Movia handles the Wolf Knights. I now proceed to wait until turn 11 so the reinforcements show up. I now swiftly handle the griffins, and then I begin to deal with the central group of enemies. Unfortunately, Movia isn't quite strong enough to take them all on, so I retreat to this choke point and pelt some of my enemies from free range. Some of my other units now handle the Wyverns and Armor Knights. Eventually, my units near Movia have an opportunity to clear up the remaining enemies, and I now move my units to collect the second set of rings. With the next set of rings collected, I take out the Meteor Mage and begin to take on the lower group of enemies. This group isn't that hard, and I easily reach the bottom of the map. I now wait for the perfect turn to combat the next group of enemies, and I begin to fight them. On the next turn, I can't quite take them out, so I have to survive an enemy phase against the group. Fortunately, I survive the enemy phase, and I begin to kill every remaining enemy, and then loot the final set of rings to end the map. I now take a detour to do Celica's Power Lock. To beat it, I just rescue Movia over the water, and then on the next turn, I finish Celica off. It's a pretty simple map. I now move on to chapter 23. This map features 2 bosses, so warp skipping it is quite hard. So instead, I opt to use Astrostorm to bait out Zephyr and Gris on turn 1. Unfortunately, to kill them, I have to survive for a few turns and wait until they reach me. To begin the map, I have a successful enemy phase, but some of my units get frozen. So I engage with Micaiah and use Restore to allow them to be unfrozen. Movia now takes on the whole right side of the map, and my other units begin to finish off the Flyers and Wolf Knights. Now Zephyr moves in range to attack my units, so I employ the use of Corin to hold her in place to allow for an opportunity for the rest of my army to finish off the worm adjacent to her. On the next turn, I continue to hold her in place, and I send Movia to attack her. He lands a critical hit and drops one of her HP bars. On the next enemy phase, he lands another crit and drops her second HP bar. I now attack Zephyr with Veil, and with the help of a lucky crit, she is defeated. I now wait for Gris to approach me, and because of his awful speed and defense, I easily defeat him and end the chapter. On chapter 24, I use Corin's Engage skill to allow my units to perfectly move in position to set up for a boss kill on the next turn. After warping in, I attack past Alear with Veil and use Echo to take out 1 HP bar. I now dance with Byleth and take out another HP bar. With another dance from Seedal, I use Echo with Veil to kill the boss and end the map. On chapter 25, I pretty much do the same thing as last chapter and walk towards the boss. Unfortunately, I can't quite kill the boss with 2 hits from Nova. However, Lumara is a corrupted, and I take out her first HP bar with damage from Holy Stance. I now use Dancers to attack Lumara 2 more times to easily beat the chapter. To begin the final map, I warp up to Sombron and I kill him in 1 turn. On Sombron's second phase, I send Movia to take out the enemies on the right, and I use Veil to handle the Dark Emblem on the left. With a crit, Movia takes out the Dark Emblem on enemy phase, then he moves up to distract the enemies on the right. On the left side of the map, I rely on Veil's powerful offense to take care of my enemies. Some Wolf Knights and High Priests steadily move towards me, but fortunately, Sombron decides to use Disengage on this turn, allowing me to position aggressively, and I almost take them all out on player phase. I now take out the third Dark Emblem, and then take on the Flyer reinforcements on enemy phase. On the next turn, I manage to take out the Flyers, and then use the Flame Dragon Vein to prevent the enemies from attacking me from below. Even more Flyer reinforcements show up, and I decide that I will have to set up for a boss kill on the next turn. I begin my turn by placing Alear on the Engage tile, to allow for me to engage with Byleth for the next turn. Unfortunately, this puts him in range to die on the next turn, so I employ the use of Rescue to save him, and I also use Rescue to place Movia in range of the final Dark Emblem. Movia now lands a crit to drop the first HP bar. On the next enemy phase, Movia doesn't land a crit, so I have to send in Ivy, who has the Leaf Emblem, to deal the killing blow. This drops Sombron's barrier, allowing for my other units to deal meaningful damage. I begin my assault by attacking with Movia and Veil. Then with the help of Veil's personal skill, I use Merrin to attack Sombron to stack up some poison. Movia now attacks Sombron to weaken him, and then I take out his first HP bar with Saphir. Next, I dance a few of my units with the Byleth Emblem and attack with Veil. He fortunately lands a crit to drop another HP bar. With all steps complete, this perfectly sets up for Movia, who deals exactly 25 damage to crit the boss and take out an additional HP bar. Then with one final dance, Mavia attacks Sombron again, and he finishes off Sombron with a critical hit. To conclude this run, it was much easier than I expected, and despite the additional rule of no skill inheritance, I actually had a much easier time than my first 0% growth run. In fact, most of my playthroughs for this game took around about 35 to 40 hours to complete, while this run only took me around about 24 hours. If you enjoyed watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and bye!